Over the past few years, America's interest in extreme sports has skyrocketed. One of the most popular sports within the X Games roster is also the newest. In a relatively short amount of time, freestyle motocross has become a billion-dollar industry and has accumulated legions of loyal fans around the world. Whether jumping motorcycles off man-made ramps, free riding on natural terrain, or going for distance records, freestyle motocross has widened the motorcycle industry and created thousands of jobs for riders, manufacturers, media, and industry personnel. Yet as recent as 1996, none of this existed. In fact, the entire sport didn't exist. Tracing it back, the roots of freestyle motocross can be attributed to a handful of events and riders with a willingness to challenge a resilient motorcycle industry whose sole focus was on racing. Larry Linkogle was one of the leaders of change. His rebellious attitude and aggression helped set the tone for the entire movement. He became the poster boy of anarchy and alongside his friends helped kickstart the emerging sport. Unfortunately, most of Larry's legacy became overshadowed by his notorious battles with alcohol, hard drugs, and inner demons that defined the later part of his life, and eventually destroyed him. For better or worse, this is Larry's story.
Hi, Dad. I'm recording you.
Rise, 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 rise. Rip flag up in the obituary. What happened to us? Where's your anger? Where's your fucking rage? What if death is lost? Lazy privilege, denial, and self-gratified. A tradition, passed down to obligated. Damn it!
Really a big influence in changing the whole motorcycle culture and way of life.
We haven't given him enough credit of what he's gone and tried to do and has done.
Everything that Metal Militia fucking encompasses, he is that fucking guy.
He was screwed up right when you met him. You knew he was kind of a mess.
I think he's a fucking great guy. 50, 60 Vicodin Norco a day.
Be there with you and, as a family, and then a matter of a day that all can shift. Totally out of your control. It's totally out of your hands, and he's gone.
Tear it down! Rise! 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 Rise!
The hurt behind it is terrible. Here you see, like, we'd see Larry when he grew up as a kid or anything, totally sober. Then all of a sudden we see him, and he's, you can tell he's drugged up, like he's been like drunk almost. And I'd always ask him, "What are you on?" He'd say nothing. I'd say, "P.S. man, I know. When I was in Vietnam, I used to watch guys on heroin. This wasn't quite as drastic as the guys I've seen on heroin, but it was similar."
Three years before Larry was born, his father, Les Linkogle, fought in the Vietnam War. He was a proud member of the 101st Airborne Division, 1st of 327 stationed in I Corps. After 2 long years of bloody battle in harsh jungle conditions and humidity, Les Linkogle had served his time. He was awarded the Bronze Star Medal with Valor and the Vietnam Cross of Gallantry from President Nixon and shipped back to California, both mentally and physically exhausted.
It was a difficult year and a half that he was gone. And just like having a son who rides a motorcycle, it just brought me to my knees every day, asking God for his grace and his protection and to protect the person that I loved. And sure enough, he did. And in 1977, we were thrilled to have a little baby boy by the name of Larry in our arms. Oh, Larry was very athletic, but athletic in a very different way. He didn't seem to have a natural interest in football or in baseball. From a very early age, he seemed to like alternative sports. He went through his toy box and he pulled out a football helmet. He also pulled out a jet ski vest, put both of them together, and he sat on his motorcycle. Which none of us had any idea what that meant until he got a little older, and all he wanted to do was ride a motorcycle. We realized that Larry's motorcycle riding was just more than riding, it was his God-given gift.
Well, we started doing the circuit. We were going all over the place as an amateur.
The very strict, disciplined lifestyle that Larry lived at home definitely played out on the racetrack. And if he put his leg over that bike and he entered a race, he needed to enter that race to win.
Yeah, he did really well in the racing circuit. He just wasn't interested in becoming the best rider in the world as far as the champion goes in Supercross.
You're there to compete, you're there to ride, you're there to win. There is no second place, there's only first.
At times I'd really get pissed off. Like, there were times where I even left him at the track.
The need to win, the drive to win, the somewhat kind of military strack, Les would call it, environment that he was raised in, it really did drive him to full and complete rebellion.
Larry lived and practiced racing in Temecula, California, which was home base to the majority of the world's top motocross and supercross race professionals. It was the mecca of the race scene. 54 miles west lies a seedy beach town that was also becoming obsessed with dirt bikes, but for reasons other than racing. Completely naive to the motocross industry, some of San Clemente's locals would soon create a bond of friendship with Larry and help kickstart the coming revolution.
You tell people, oh, I'm from San Clemente, and they're just like, ah, he's a fucking tweaker, he's a drug addict and shit, you know, and fucking, they just automatically assume the worst, which is, you know, pretty true. You know, Christian Fletcher, Jason Jesse, Nathan Fletcher, Matt Archibald, Trigger. I mean, we were just like this small crew.
There's something in the water in San Clemente or something, that maybe it's the nuclear plant. There's a lot of really talented people, but they're all fucked up.
There was a bunch of us that rode dirt bikes, but we came from other things. Trigger was the king of it. He would ride wheelies right down Coast Highway and ride out and go riding. He'd run from the cops, he'd do whatever it took to have a good time on his dirt bike.
Then Nathan got into the jumping thing and all. Like, it was really cool. Like, they were trying to do something out of the norm.
I just come from skateboarding and surfing. You know, I'd see like hips and like everything to me is like a transition like that. And so that's the only thing I really know.
And me and Nathan just, you know, we were riding every day out in the hills. And then once we got kind of good enough, we go, let's go race, you know?
In 1996, the racing circuit was doing better than ever. Supercross races were selling out around the country and being broadcast on national television, mainly due to the emerging Supercross star Jeremy McGrath. His 14 wins in a single season and battles with Jeff Emig were getting a lot of heat, but it was actually McGrath's patented finish line knack-knack jump that got fans flocking to the stadiums. The race industry had fought hard to resist the wild biker stereotype created by Hollywood, and now that Jeremy and the sport were gaining respect on a national level, the industry was very protective of the sport's image, appearance, and the reputation of the top factory riders. Racers that didn't fit the AMA mold, challenged the system, or posed a threat in any way were met with resistance.
I can remember I was at the American Motorcycle Association in San Diego, and all of a sudden I see this dirty, filthy bike come up. I didn't see who was on it or behind it yet. And lo and behold, he gave his entry blank to the tech inspector, and it was none other than Larry Linkogle showing up to race Supercross without any of his gear on in a full-on Elvis outfit.
He was classic because he had these big sideburns, and he had these like old polyester bell bottoms on with just a huge collared polyester shirt and this 1965 Chevy old pickup truck with his dirt bike in the back, and he was there trying to qualify for the race.
I'm running second, he's running third. Like, we're in, high five. 2 laps to go, ride smart, and we're in the main event. And just out of nowhere, I just see this. I remember he used to run like a white and black bike back then. I just see this front tire come in and punt me and him. Shit starts going haywire in the pitboard area. His mechanic and my mechanic were standing like shoulder to shoulder.
And then when the consequences came, it didn't bother. Bothered me.
You know, in the racing industry back then was, you had to really abide by their rules.
Clean cut, work hard, athletic. That's how it was. There was no real image.
You're all expendable. You know, this behavior is not going to be put up with.
These guys were all straight-laced, you know, vitamins, running, and then you got guys that are just want to have fun, like, you know, the skater mind. And the motocross industry wasn't that.
You know, there was no such thing as like hardcore motocrossers, you know, it's like they're all like almost like jet skiers.
It was like, work on your bike, polish the fucking hub, and shave my legs, and I gotta have a mullet haircut. And then that's when we just got an eye-opener. I'm like, everybody in this parking lot is fucking gay. And then we see Larry, and you know, I just liked his attitude. He just came by, just like, fuck you. You know, and he just had the skate mind frame. And so we started riding with him, and then we started going out to his little compound, and basically, you know, in a matter of a month or two, he's wearing baggies and just part of our crew.
And he said, Mom, I need to ask you for a favor, and I need you to return all this gear to my sponsor. And I think that was the beginning of his desire to say, look, I'm going to make a statement. I am who I am, and I'm going to be true to myself, and no one's going to tell me otherwise. And when he would enter a race, a supercross race, or enter an outdoor national race, instead of racing the race, he would perform tricks on his bike between the jumps.
He could be the last guy to start, but they're all cheering for him.
Larry Linkogle could do a no-footer, and the crowd would cheer so loud because he would be full front end in the air, out of control, land, swap, tank slapper, hit the wall, bounce off, flip everyone off, and keep going. And the crowd loved him.
All the media, everything would go to his camp. And he got a lot of heat from the corporate industry from that. But he never gave in to it.
I thought it was taken away from Supercross, because you get new fans. You know, that's the goal for any new sport, is to get new fans. And here they are watching these guys do amazing stuff over jumps, and then when the actual Supercross race is in progress, it's fairly mellow. And not to mention the image. I couldn't stand it, the baggy pants and the belts and the, ugh.
The guys that do that are the guys that can't race. They can't get it done.
You know, basically with their fingers in the air. Fuck motocross, fuck Supercross, we're doing this, we're not following your rules. And so as a racer, you're going, wow, that's, you know, they're kind of disowning me. And so then you were chose to stay on this side of the fence. Okay, you guys go there.
The majority of them are all bleached hair and earrings and just, you know, little queer tattoos and bright fluorescent orange gear and boning each other's chicks. You know, they're all a bunch of chumps as far as I'm concerned.
We're black sheep in the whole motocross industry, right?
What we wanted to do was just make propaganda that just said how, like, let your ego down. You don't gotta, like, win, you know, because winning sucks. Having fun is what actually rules, you know?
Then they started, you know, making stencils and T-shirts, and that was like their little deal. It was actually the three of them. It was Nathan, Trigger, and Larry.
Our pitch is full propaganda and basically try to piss off everybody that's in the industry. Because we basically didn't have anything to lose. We're just like, if these people already hate us, let's see how much energy they got to hate us.
Go! I see right through your gaze. I know what's going on. You need a dress change. You think that you're the only one. You got no sanctuary as far as I can see. You got no power over me. I disagree. Set things straight. I'm gonna set things straight. I've had enough. You and me are gonna set things straight. I've had enough. I've had enough. You're just too much.
Yeah, pretty much the message to the public is don't sell out, stay hardcore.
The Metal Militia would later become one of the largest and most powerful companies in freestyle motocross. For the time being, it was a way for a group of friends to have some fun and challenge the way people looked at the motocross scene. The Metal Militia quickly developed a devoted following.
The early skulls and the rather gothic drawings that were in the early days of the Metal Militia drawings were somewhat alarming and a little bit of a surprise to his dad and to me. And in our minds, we just thought, well, maybe he just has a curiosity with the dark side, and maybe that's how he depicts it in his mind.
I said, Larry, why are you catering to all these losers? And he says to me, he goes, Dad, don't you get it? I said, no, what? Get what? There's more losers than winners. Okay, you're right. And he says, but you have to understand, I'm a loser too, and we can all be winners. I go, okay. And he goes, then that's the hope I want to give everybody. And he goes, I am a loser, and I want to show everyone that that's a matter of speech.
The landscape and terrain that surrounds the Temecula area is not only diverse, but also perfect for riding dirt bikes. From the rolling green hills of Santa Barbara, natural formations of Ocotillo Wells, and the sand dunes of Glamis, Southern California seemed tailor-made for dirt bikes.
You know, back then when we were racing, there wasn't a lot of supercross tracks. So we honed our skills out in the hills.
Manley would call me all the time and say, let's go ride. Not just go out and just turn lap after lap, but, you know, to go out and just enjoy myself on a dirt bike.
You know, to ride motorcycles, you don't need to go put on your pretty motocross gear. That's not what it's about.
Took everything I knew to basically skateboarding transitions, you know, like, you know, riding in the hills. Free riding is what they call it now.
What I'd love to do, or what I rode a motorcycle for, is just to go slow and then just hit kickers. Like, I'd always try and do a tabletop, but Larry, he could get flat, you know? Especially, he'd do it to the left.
It was nice to just kind of uncork yourself and just have fun. And then finally met John Freeman, and took him out riding with me and some of my buddies, and they were just blown away at what could be done on a motorcycle out in the hills.
He would just show us all this crazy stuff that he would love to do, play riding his, you know, with his motorcycle, and it was always going on every weekend. You know, just nobody really documented it.
We did a lot with Amick and MC and the racers and all that crap. I mean, freestyle motocross didn't exist.
The Krusty Demons of Dirt video blew the door wide open. With a video format similar to snowboard and skate videos, Krusty One featured all the top racers play riding in the hills and fooling around, but also gave a home to riders like Seth Anslow and other individualists.
You know, after Krusty's success that first year, it was like a mad gold rush trying to do, you know, Krusty type film. And Larry was just chomping at the bit.
TV party tonight! TV party tonight! We're gonna have a TV party tonight! Alright! We're gonna have a TV party, alright! Tonight! We've got nothing better to do than watch TV and have a couple of brews.
All these freestyle movies coming out, you know, but they were starting to change. You started seeing less and less of this supercross guy.
Larry was one of the most, even though he raced, he was a little bit on the other side of the edge of the things, didn't fit in with the other people.
He really started just coming to his own as far as personality, and, you know, he could back it up as a rider, too. You know, he did some pretty amazing things on the bike.
Larry, along with Metzger and, you know, a handful of other people, they knew pretty much this thing was going to blow up, and they were pretty much, you know, right there at the forefront.
We're like, dude, we don't really give a fuck about racing because we're so burnt out from being hurt.
I'm just another guy on the gate at Supercross, but I think I can start really standing out doing the freestyle side of things. And it was fun.
Pure chaos, just having as much fun as possible, you know, just steamrolled.
And I said, Larry, you need to race. You need to race. He goes, no, I don't. Leave me alone.
We've got nothing left to do. There was no TV and just
finally at one point he said, you know, Dad, that's where the show is. It's not racing. He said it's just in crashing and doing a bunch of tricks. That's when he got a hold of Mickey Diamond. He said, Mickey, I got the land. I need help.
Going out there to their house and getting started, we threw ideas out. You know, his father was always ready to make them happen.
Larry took his motocross track and turned it into a freestyle course for just jumping. And back in that day, nobody had that kind of thing.
It was actually a planned, orchestrated movement to design jumps, the launch, the landing, and the tricks.
Coming up with ideas like, well, what if we did this and built some jumps, and then we could always somehow at the end of the day put it into a stadium and in view what the audience would see.
Hey, it's my friend Shane Tridler on Ricky Rackman Radio, and he's got a really cool event coming up.
Yeah, it's like Evel Knievel if he was doing tricks in the air.
Hey, that's nuts. Well, Shane called me. I'm gonna do something that nobody's ever done. We're gonna build these jumps, and imagine if you could see what everybody does in BMX, but they're gonna be doing them on motorcycles.
I put together a course. I had a big Tabletoposaurus. I think we had like pit boards, and they rode on there, you know, like a regular 1 to 10 score. Larry Linkogle won that with a no-footed can to a no-footer. I remember I was like, man, that was cool. I have to learn that.
Who would have ever thought that it ended up progressing to what it is?
Freestyle Motocross was building a cult following. The next event had Larry and the other top jumpers in Las Vegas, and soon enough, we showed them what they'd been missing.
My whole fucking plan was to go back to the snowboard industry and show the snowboarders, look at the dirt bikers doing fucking tricks.
And it was around a ASR trade show, which has nothing to do with motocross, and all of those people showed up.
Close to 10,000 people that turned out for this thing.
I'm 14 years old. I didn't know half of what was going on, but the crowd was just going nuts.
When I saw Larry Linkogle flip the crowd up, I was so pumped.
At that point, it was obvious that there was going to be some real crossover.
Opportunities started presenting themselves. Money, travel, all kinds of things started happening for the guys.
And then, of course, everybody ran with their little flags like they're gonna be fucking millionaires. Fuck all you guys.
99, when we got on the World Tour in Australia, we knew that there was going to be a motocross exhibition thing. And I thought it was a great idea with the music. Pretty hardcore back then with some hardcore riding, so it was a really good combination.
It was insane. It's all the impossibilities. Is it possible to do this? Is it possible to do that? And I've always been an Evel Knievel fan.
I ended up going to Tahiti and just surfing, and you know, I quit riding right then. Shortly after, I guess, like, I don't know, Brian Deacon got involved, and then Larry and Brian were like partners, you know, because Larry had to either ride with like whoever, but Brian was the only guy who was like cool enough with him and wasn't competitive.
You know, Brian and Link were kind of on the same kind of course. They were both going a little crazy, being stuffed into a little box as a racer. Neither one of them wanted to be that.
They had that nonchalant attitude. They didn't care.
Brian and Larry were the guys in front of the screen, preaching it, the rhetoric, getting crazy, doing their thing. But those were the guys that really stamped the attitude, the personality, and the lifestyle of what the Metal Militia was right out of the gate.
God has this little picture painted for us, and you know, he knows when you're gonna die, so that's the way I look at it. If you're gonna go, then it's your time to go. There's no way of escaping death.
Just the whole attitude, like, you know, we're here to just fucking tear everything up, and we're gonna blow this shit up, and we're gonna change it all, and fuck that yuppie, preppy attitude and that clean-cut guy deal.
I'm sick of seeing frosted-haired faggots with fucking earrings.
A lot of the kids that didn't want to be a part of anything, you know, any main group telling them what to do, I think they really attached to Larry and Brian.
Not only they were doing gnarly stuff on the bikes, but also there was like personality and character that like made kids, I mean, shit, it made me like, oh man, those guys are cool.
I kind of get that dry sense of humor, that poker face sense of humor that Larry's got, so I always kind of actually enjoyed hearing Larry talk.
When the Y came up in this whole freestyle thing, Deegan and Larry Linkogle, they were the first to capture it, you know?
Do as many drugs as humanly possible, then take over the world, put a nuclear bomb in LA and take care of the problem.
Just talking shit that was super funny, and that made the whole sport, in my mind, cool.
There was a whole market of, you know, kids and, you know, even adults that just wanted to be a part of something that was having a good time. And not to say disrespecting authority, but going out there and saying, look, we do what we do because we love it. We found a way to make a living at what we do. And you know what? Fuck you guys.
It's a brand new sport, freestyle motocross. These guys are gonna go off the hook.
Midnight, 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 beat the drum. Black night, black night, black night, cut and run. Fighting in the west, fighting in the east, fighting like a beast. You must stand and fight. Good job.
When motorcycles appeared in X Games, San Francisco, 1999, I could not have been more thrilled, nor could I have been more proud.
The X Games, they did everything right. They had a really killer course. They gave it top billing. They did everything they could to give those guys acceptance.
That was a huge professional setup that attracted good guys, and if you were an idiot, you weren't going to survive out there. So, you know, then it became something that I was like, hey, let's go check this out, you know, and I became a fan of it.
You know, once they hit the X Games, it's like, okay, it's here to stay.
Fight, stand and fight, stand and fight, stand and fight, make it right, stand and fight, you must fight, fight, you motherfucker.
You must be new. Must be new in this sport. Know who I am? Freestyle. I'm a freestyler. A freestyle motocrosser. Ride a bike. Freestyle. Hit ramps. Hit the big gaps. Hit the ramps. Sign my name. New cars, new houses, new wristwatches, gold rings. Fat money. Fat money. Big money. Big money. High dollar. 20 G's to sign my name on a poster. Big dollar. Big dollar.
Almost overnight, FMX had gone from being the race industry's bastard child to its own full-fledged, respected sport. The younger generation could start learning to jump their dirt bikes, knowing that there was a future and a possible payoff waiting for them, and the existing riders had to fight harder than ever to defend their place at the top of the ever-growing mob.
The transition for many of the riders was they had to do the free ride and freestyle. They could do some limited tricks, but they needed to learn. They needed to become athletes.
And instead of free riders, all of a sudden we started having full-on freestyle motocross jumpers.
I was seeing it as a professional sport, you know, not like NASCAR or Supercross, but clean.
Go home and practice. Instead of practicing for nationals, We're gonna learn new tricks. We're gonna push the envelope on motorcycles of what we can do.
Freestyle kind of lost a little of its, kind of what it was about. Its originality was, you know, let's have fun, let's party, let's be outside the norm, and it became a sport.
I had, you know, those videos, you know, the X Games, all the competition on TV. I had that to look at to say that's where I want to be.
And I think Larry saw that as just another step of the motocross clone. Oh, these guys are gonna go do tricks and be judged and do all this. Larry was just totally, I think, over it.
Freestyle is getting pretty glam rock, just like motocross has. But as glamour as it gets, militia still stays hardcore till the end.
Larry's disdain for that control became more and more pronounced, and this sport was now evolving just exactly like Supercross did, and he became very displeased and dissatisfied.
So the contest thing went one way, and then still the free ride went another way.
Myself, I'm not even categorized as a freestyle. I'm a free rider. Like that's what I do. I'm a free rider. I free ride.
Larry's always kind of thought of his own different deals. We light him on fire, we exploded shit on him, done like 40-foot fireballs on both sides of him.
He wants to go do things that, you know, aren't that particular ramp and landing at a certain place.
Larry's always been there to step up for the bigger jumps, you know, that we do in the sand dunes or wherever.
Much like skateboarding and snowboarding, FMX was opening itself up to different disciplines. The free riders pushed video stunts and possibilities on natural terrain. The ramp kids had more and more contests and demos to perfect their tricks. And still another faction of riders began to emerge, including Seth Enslow and Trigger Gunn. They wanted to challenge the distance barriers set by Evel Knievel and Johnny Airtime in the past decades. To stay in the mix, all the riders had to continually push themselves. Something newer, something bigger, or something more brutal. Go big or die, motherfucker.
If you really want to be the best, and if you want to push yourself to that level, you're going to be hurt. You're going to be in pain.
You can't get through some of the pain that we endure without having painkillers.
With all the medals and the high fives came a lot of devastating injuries, you know, that really were putting the wear and tear on guys.
It got to such a deal, like such a deal that like you can't go no bigger, you know? You cannot go no bigger. You're gonna die.
People that are attracted to sports that are extreme, that are dangerous, ultimately, there's a personality type that drives you and that longs for the adrenaline, the high that you get from the adrenaline. And then with that comes then the inevitable injury and then the painkillers.
When Larry first was injured, he lost his spleen. And when that happened, they gave him some drugs. And then after that, he just stayed on pills.
You know, we all kind of knew things were happening with Larry, and not sure what was going on in his head, but it affected his job on the Krusty Tour,
and getting all weird in his hotel room, and then going into our show and standing in the middle of the field and grabs the mic and tells all the people,
Storm the stadium and just attack.
He actually went there. He took all the money that he had paid, didn't ride once.
thousands and thousands of dollars worth of hotel damages. So he pretty much lost his spot on the Krusty Tour.
Davey Coombs from Racer X wanted to do an interview with him, and Davey asked if he wanted to thank any of his sponsors, and he said he wanted to thank Etnies for giving him shoes to trade for meth. It kind of got to a boiling point, and that was time to let it go.
All of a sudden, I'd get a voice message, and it'd be like, "Hey, Coombs, it's Larry Linkogle. Remember me? Don't start your car." We're getting ready to call the police a couple times.
Well, once the brain is saturated with the opiates, then the behavior changes. Judgment goes out the window, and so relationships now take on a whole new flavor, and then you end up doing the things that we all regret and are ashamed of.
I used to do stunt work, and in 2001, a friend of mine called me and asked if I would consult on a movie that they were doing. So I helped them put together, a list of writers and do some casting for that. And Larry fit the part really well because of his body size, and he can do a lot of tricks.
He called me up and he said, hey, Matt, you got to get up here, and I'm going to be on this Vin Diesel movie or something. And I'm like, yeah, I'll cruise up there,
I really remember Larry just being unreliable and showing up with his bike just a hunk of shit.
He was trying to come around to do this little jump that was going to go over this barn.
So the helicopter's coming down, and he didn't notice Larry because he was virtually underneath him.
He jumped off this little bump, and the fucking helicopter was too low, and he fucking bumped the shit.
And it drove Larry down into this tank, and it basically slammed him into the ground. He ate it pretty bad. And it really was a scary moment because there was a lot of people on set. If that helicopter would have hit a rotor, if Larry would have hit that rear tail rotor, it would have won. It would have killed him instantly, and those rotors would have disintegrated and basically killed us all.
He opens the door, and boom, I come in, and I'm like, what the fuck's up, if I can take care of my friend and shit, what are you guys gonna do about this? And they're just all Hollywood out of it, just oh, he's okay, he's this, he's that, he's just some fucking motocross fucker that just hit his head. But it's yeah, fucking right, he could have been decapitated, but that would have been a good way to go out.
It affected me to a degree because I'm the one that brought him into it. And I wasn't real happy with Larry for quite a while after that.
I guess I knew there was a problem at the time, but he was so nice and sweet and wonderful when he would be under the influence of it. And when he wasn't, it would be like the worst of the worst, just a demon, just out of control, mean, angry, vicious.
Larry got so messed up that, he became a non-friend to those that were friends with him. It was really hard for us to be around him.
But I remember doing tours and being around Larry years and watched his kind of progression, and it was almost kind of like a light switch. Is it Larry or is it Link?
Larry's really, he's like a Rubik's Cube, you know what I mean? I haven't really ever figured him out the whole way.
There was a lot of similarities to the way my career went and the way Larry's career went. I tried to warn him because I did it a little bit before he did. There's a fine line between being hardcore and between killing your career. And I tried to talk to him about it, and just like my parents and other people try to talk to me about it, it don't fucking work. You can tell me till you're blue in the face, and I'm gonna go do whatever I want anyways, and the end result is gonna be the same. Even though they tried to push you fucking over the line, once you go over the line, they're they don't throw no life preserver, it's straight up fend for yourself. Oh, look at him, look what a loser he is. Well, you helped get me there, throw me a life preserver, you fucking cocksucker.
As Larry further isolated himself from the world around him, the progression of the sport continued to prove that time waits for no man. A standardized system of ramps and the creation of foam pits allowed riders to practice their flip combinations in a safer manner. And the private metal militia compound had been moved from Larry Linkogle's house to Brian Deegan's, but Larry found himself on the outside looking in.
Chris Ackerman, he was running the office, he was running the day-to-day, he was making it happen. Larry loved him, Brian loved him. Chris got in an accident, broke his neck, and was paralyzed from the neck down. But I think pretty much right out of that accident, it really started to get worse and worse between those guys. It was almost like Ackerman was the middleman for them at times, even though they were still really not getting along and they were totally disagreeing. It only got worse from there.
They expected everybody to choose sides type of thing, you know. Everybody else that was involved with the metal militia, it's like, okay, well, are you Link's friend or Deegan's friend? And it kind of got a weird vibe for a while, but Link wasn't really riding. He was doing his thing and, you know, checking himself out, doing his thing and doing whatever people do, you know, so it's all good, you know. People gotta try stuff out and learn things the hard way sometimes, so it is what it is.
And Larry pretty much just disappeared. You know, he went on a bad one, and all I knew that he was with some really screwed up people, and you know, he was basically turned into a criminal.
It got bad. I'm talking, we would do anything, fucking drive fucking to Mexico, pay any fucking price, fucking. If we heard someone had something, we'd fucking be on it, you know, or just straight out jack them, you know. It was out of control, and fucking, we were right in the middle of it, you know.
Donkey boy's getting busted.
Both driver and passenger, hands up.
Larry and I started fucking hanging out. I mean, his addiction was just as fucking full-blown as mine.
We got pretty heavy into it, and there were some times where Larry and myself, you know, there were some dark days, you know, some real dark days. And it's just a sick fucking game, you know.
You know, we've been fucking curtain patrol, fucking, you know what I mean? Like, the whole gauntlet of fucking drug abuse, you know, we were fucking side by side.
I think at that point, Larry had already crossed that line of being like, you know, good guy, bad guy. He was already fucking there, dude. He was already done.
I don't think I or Lincoln or anybody could have helped him see other than the little box he was in his drug world. Like, it didn't matter, like his son or me or my love or my loyalness. It didn't matter. There is no stopping an addict when he wants his fix. There's no stopping him.
Somebody came up to me and goes, Larry's in TAF, he's been there for 2 months, he's not doing good. So I loaded up my Cadillac and just took a drive to find the kid, you know? And when I actually found him, you know, he was in like a shed, you know? They call them houses out there. And I go, Larry, he goes, Trick, what are you doing here? I'm like, dude, I've come to get you, dude. You gotta go with me. And this big Ultimate Fighter's, what? You ain't taking him? And I'm all, listen, guy. He's my buddy, he needs help, I'm gonna take him in, get him some help, and like this guy's yoked up, ready to kill me. I go, listen, I'll help you out, man. What's your problems? I know you have a kid and a wife too, dumbass. You know, you need to wise up and pull your shit together too, but this guy over here, I'm taking. So whatever you have to do, shoot me, kill me, break my neck, I'm taking him. And dude, by the grace of God, he let me take him, you know. I actually told people that were close to us, hey, I'm going to get Larry, and there's like, you're an idiot. But you know what I mean? He's like one of my close friends, and I'm sure he would have done it for me, and he needed help.
I remember
his mom really concerned. She was really trying to find an outlet for Larry to keep him involved in his sport so that it wouldn't throw him into, you know, some of the dark, deep places that you can go. And something came up that there was a slot to go for world records.
I was supposed to do a world record jump over in Australia. My one big chance in all the years I've been waiting to break that 251-foot mark for the amount of money that I wanted to wait for was there, and that was a big opportunity. And for some reason, things happened the way they did. I broke my ankle. I wasn't able to jump the night of records.
Since he got hurt, it was an opportunity for Larry to get back in the game.
Link kind of took my place. It was Trigger Gum and Larry Linkogle.
So I just spent, you know, a month and a half, 2 months out at Link's house, just practicing our brains out. We were super focused and super, like, on point.
I was there to support them and have their backs and give them my input that I'd, you know, any kind of questions, anything that I'd learned from doing distance jumps over the years.
The jumps were coming so easy. Basically, we're in sync, you know, I'm totally on. So we went over to Australia.
Freestyle motocross has always had a home in Australia. The energy, fun and aggression of the sport is a perfect match for the world's rowdiest country. And when the American crusty demons come to town, it's treated like a national holiday. In 2006, the Krusty Crew and Michael Parra of Rush Sports put on a first-time event called the Night of Records, slated to end with Larry Linkogle and Trigger Gum going for 2 separate distance records. The chance of carnage was high, and the show immediately sold out.
You just gotta be, you know, confident in what you do. You know, I'm just gonna go out there and be natural.
There's 2 different plans. It's either a hospital or they built a bar over there where we're gonna celebrate.
Well, Seth, welcome back to Brisbane. Not able to jump tonight due to a broken ankle.
Doctor put 6 screws in it, bastards. Took me out, can't do my jump. Been planning on this for years, but we got the next best thing. Larry Linkogle and Trigger Gum have been my buddies for a decade, and they're here to back me up, and I'm here to back them up, and you are gonna see a world record.
Jumps were coming so easy. It was just like, all right, you're out. Not an ounce of wind, perfect night, 35,000 people. We started pulling the ramp back and everything was clicking.
Larry, start your bike!
I will think that he's totally done. You know, he's getting older, he's hurt, he's aching, he's washed up. And then he will come up with the most random thing and pull it off.
35,000 people gave him the record, the celebration, everything. And Larry, I think, pretty much had the perfect night.
Larry and Trigger accomplished their goals. Trigger was entered in the Guinness Book of Records, and Larry had successfully jumped a 250cc dirt bike further than any other human being. Unfortunately, while still in Australia, Larry fell off the wagon.
I think that's in the core of every addict is fucking nothing's ever good enough. You can always make it better. Always make it better. Like you know, have the best day of your life. What a better way to end the best day of your life than to get fucking completely wasted.
I'll speak for myself. I was a junkie, like adrenaline junkie. It all wraps into one. When I wasn't getting the adrenaline, then I was getting that rush one way or another. That's all there is to it. And I think he's probably fucking pretty much in the same category as that.
I feel badly knowing that, you know, okay, Larry had problems later on, and I hadn't made any type of impression on him other than to say, fuck, you're here, do whatever you can, whenever you can, however much you want, and don't take any fucking responsibility for anything, fuck everybody.
My biggest fear was I was going to feel guilty because I'd let him go and I wouldn't fight for him or fight for his sobriety, and I would just let him go and I'd get a phone call. The late phone call was like dreadful.
Hi. 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 Higher. 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 Hi, Dad. I'm recording you.
Well, I didn't want them through their eyes to look at their dad and go, my dad's a piece of shit. You know, like I love my kids too much.
I'm going to say, Joe.
So this is not healthy for you, Larry.
I am going to break that camera.
No.
Once you fucking get, man, it's so hard to explain, you know, it's fucking the gnarliest, just most twisted, weird, subtle, overwhelming fucking thing you've ever been through in your life is to be fucking addicted to drugs.
Honestly, I'd rather fucking take a Tylenol or something than just to go through all the bullshit I've been through from all the fucking narcotics I've taken. So to preach to a kid, it ain't worth it, you know? Seriously, not fucking worth it, you know? If you want to waste fucking 10 years of your life or fucking the rest of your fucking life or OD, lose friends, or lose your own fucking life, it ain't worth it. That's my message, you know?
It's been one heck of a ride, I'll tell you that. And all of my friends that I had are either dead or in prison or awaiting trial. Losing friends, especially when they're close, you know, and losing them to the situations that, you know, I lost them to. Actually, it really is an eye-opener, and you know what, it was putting the fear in me. I don't want to be another statistic of, you know, that guy that had talent, you know. He could have been so much, and I didn't want to be that guy. I can understand dying a warrior's glory, all right? Die for your country. Die protecting the person that you love. You know, die doing something super gnarly on your motorcycle or whatever sport it is that you're in. If you die doing that, it's, you know, there is so much just heart into that. To die from being strung out on pills, to die from an overdose, I mean, that's just so, it's unacceptable.
You know, I think that recovery comes in as many different forms as there are people. And so some of the basic tenets are, you know, maintaining connection with some kind of the sense of purpose on the planet, maintaining a contact with who you are on a deeper level, and we can't do this alone, you know, and we have to let people in.
You can still fucking live a fucking, you know, exciting fucking full life and stuff, but just know that you're fucking addicted to drugs, fool. You know, you get in certain situations, you forget you're a fucking addict. Guess what? All these other people aren't fucking addicts. They can fucking, you know, maybe they can use drugs and fucking on a recreational basis and come to work on Monday. But you can't. Me, I can't.
It's a rough road, and it is a hard, rugged. There's no road rougher than that road. But you know what? When you finally get down it, you know, after a few years of being down that rough road, then you know what? You start seeing some of the perks of this road. You know, you're not sick, you're not tired, you know, you have energy, you're healthy, you have ambition, you want to go do things, man. I make up for lost time now.
This wall ride idea for a motorcycle, and I just kind of laughed about it, you know. Motorcycles don't do wall rides.
I gotta tell you, since he became clean, it's just been a miracle. I mean, I'm very proud of it.
My dad used to make me race. Mike's dad used to make him race. And now we're out here with our kids making them race.
Larry can pretty much do anything he wants. If he wants to go do drugs, he'll go do drugs. If he wants to stay sober, and, you know, that's the cool thing. Larry is one of a kind.
To me, you won. Okay? I know when I was a kid, my biggest hero was my dad. I know that I'm my son's biggest hero. I want my kid to be able to hold his head up proud and be like, yeah, that's my dad. He's my best friend.
Being able to deal with the world and dealing with shit that comes up every day. Yeah, that's what makes people who they are.
I see a totally different person. Hopefully someday he can stay this way and not slip again on that slope.
I look up to Larry because he's been through problems, same with me, and he's coming back. And dude, I personally think that's punk rock, you know, like, that's sick.
All I can think of is just, you know, riding with my friends, and I think that's what the sport really is all about.
It's just been a crazy way to come full circle, I guess.
I'm glad to have been able to spin my head back around and grasp reality.
With the right ramps, we could do, I mean, twice as big, I think, easy.
Morgue sports is what I'm into. It's what Larry's into. If it can't kill you, it couldn't be that much fun.
I'm stoked. I'm so stoked more than anything than when I see some little wharf rat kids on skateboards rocking a Metal Militia shirt and knowing, like, yeah, you know what? That is my bloodline. You can never call it a sellout brand. You know why? Because I myself am the beating heart that still is pumping blood into that system, and I will never sell out.
Whatever we can. Gotta duck when the shit is Fans